Okay, welcome back. Today I'm going to start with functions in Python. You can see over there as an heading. But before starting to give a definition for a function, let's see what actually function does in a programming language. Let's try to understand what is the use or what is the utility or why do we, if at all, require a function in a programming language. Let's try to understand. Suppose, say for example, I ask you to perform a huge task. So if I ask you to perform a huge task, that is say for example, I ask you to develop a software. So if it is a huge software, if it is a small one, no problem, no issues with that. But if it is a big one, a huge one, where a lot of things are involved, in that case, don't you think it would be better always to have it, under a group of people, under you there may be several people who can work together to perform this particular task. So what I'm going to do is, to each of these people I'm going to give a smaller task, a subtask to each one of them, and I'm going to see how they perform with that particular task. This is exactly what happens even in a software company, or in any organization. You see, it is not possible for a single man to run the entire show in a particular company or anything of that sort. Any task has to be broken into several segments, and each one of these segments is done by a person or a group of persons who have an expertise in that particular task. So this is what happens. So here, what we are going to do is, suppose, say for example, this particular thing, a rectangular box represents an entire huge task. Now it is not possible for me to do this entire task in one go, because it will take, although it is possible for me, but it will take an enormous amount of time. So to save time, what am I going to do? I am going to break it into several segments. Each one of these segments, let me draw it out here. Suppose this is one segment, this is one segment, this is one segment. So each of these segments, instead of keeping it all together over here and breaking it out here, I have kept it separately. So once I keep this separately, what is the benefit of this? The benefit of this is, I as a manager or the main person who is working over here, what I'm going to do is, whenever I want, suppose let me give the name for each one of these tasks as task 1, this is task 2, this is task 3. So whenever I want the first task to be executed, I can simply call the first task person. So I'm going to call this person or this group of person who is going to do task number 1. And now I feel that instead of doing the second task, let me do the third task. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to call the person or a group of people who are related to the third task and ask him to do this. And after this, what I want is, I want once again the first task to be executed. So again I call the person or group of people who are related to task number 1. And now I feel that okay, I require to do the second task. So I can call the people related to the second task. Like that I can continue. What is important over here is, breaking the entire job into smaller segments, and each one of these segments, they are working as a whole. That means they are complete within themselves and they are working within themselves. And I as a manager or the main person over here, so this is the main person or the manager out here in an organization, is going to call this people or this group of people to perform a particular task. And this is all neatly done out here by the main person. So this is what we have functions for in Python. In Python or in any programming language, if you have done prior to this, learning Python now, if you have done any programming language, you must have seen that, basically functions are basically used to perform a huge task by breaking it into smaller segments. So here, each one of these tasks, we'll call it functions. So each of these tasks which you see are called functions. So functions, what does it contain? A function contains a set of instructions, because whenever we are writing a program, what does a program contain? A set of instructions. So naturally these functions will also contain a set of instructions which does a particular task. So task number 1 has a set of instructions which does a particular job. Task number 2 will have another set of instructions which may be related, which may not be related. but which can perform a particular task. Similarly, task 3 also contains a set of instruction which contains a particular task, and the main person or the main part of the program where I will be calling each one of these tasks or functions will also have a set of instructions. So this is what is or how the functions work in Python. So this is what we are going to do. Now, if you just try to imagine, now before using functions, what we are going to do? We are going to tell, suppose, once again, get back to that organization, example which I was trying to give. Suppose for this task number 1, I need to give the instruction prior to this people or this group of people, working. So I need to give the instructions to group number 1 or task number 1, what they are supposed to do. Don't you think so? So this group of people are only going to work only when they have a clear-cut instruction from the main person what I'm going to do out here. So first I need to give them in writing what are the tasks they are going to do. Similarly, for task number 2, again, even they should have a set of instruction in writing to perform a particular job. Similarly, the third person should, or the third group should also have a set of instruction which it should follow to perform a particular task. So each one of this group are having a group of instructions which does a particular task. Now this is very important. This set of instruction, what this function is supposed to do, is called the definition of a function. Definition of a function. Now don't get mixed up with the word definition. Definition normally in science is used to define a particular word. So nothing of that sort happens with a function. In a function, the word definition basically means in writing or the set of instruction what this function does. So definition for a function means what it is supposed to do. So what are the tasks which it is supposed to do. And this set of instructions which we are going to make a function do is written in the form of a program. So each one of this definition is basically tells the function what it is supposed to do. And only in the main, when I call this function, this definition, then only that part gets executed, not before this. Definition means, once again I am telling you, definition means giving a set of instruction to the function. So first of all, what we need to do is, for each of these tasks or for each of these functions, I am going to write a set of instructions telling what this function is supposed to do. And in the main part or the main person, what it is going to do, it is simply going to call that particular task or that particular function so that that function executes whatever statement is written inside it. So this is how we are going to make the function work. Now, we are going to see how we write definition for a function and how we can execute that function. Remember, there are two parts in this entire discussion which I am telling you. There are two parts which I am talking about. Of course, the huge program broken up, or a huge task broken up into smaller tasks, that you already know. And each of these tasks, the smaller subtasks, are called functions. You know this. It increases the modularity. Reusability, you must have seen over there, reusability of the code, and of course the manageability, you can easily manage it. Imagine, you doing an entire huge task. Instead of doing that, if you break it up into smaller segments and you have several people working around you, of course, you can easily manage that particular task. So that is very important. Getting back to what I am trying to tell over here is, now we are going to see how to write functions in Python. When I tell how to write functions, what I basically mean is, there are two things which are related to a function. First, the definition of a function. Remember, what is the definition of a function? I said prior to this, what is the definition? It is the set of instruction which tells that particular function what is to be done. It never executes it. It only tells. I am only telling that function you are supposed to do this. And in the main area, that is the manager or the main part of the program, only when I invoke or call that function, only then the statement which is given in the definition will get executed and the function does the job which it is supposed to do. So this is how a function works. So two things, first definition of a function and then invocation of a function, that is calling a function. So two parts. So let's start with it. So a function begins with the keyword def, indicating define. So definition of a function. So here what I am trying to do is I am going to first write the definition of a function. So here this entire function can be written in both script mode as well as interactive mode. We are writing a complete program, so therefore we are going for the script mode. Although we can also do it in interactive mode. However, in Python, any function will begin with the keyword def. Def indicates definition. Definition means it's not going to execute. When you run this particular program, it's not going to execute. It is only to tell the computer that this particular function is supposed to do this task. That is, I will have a set of instruction given over here. So you see, first of all, let's give a name to this function. Let's give a name to this task. Like I had given prior to this, I had given you an example where I had written task number 1, task number 2, task number 3. So here, let me give the name for the task as greet, because I'm going to display a greeting message, followed by 2 parentheses opening and closing. This is the syntax. There are more to it, I'll tell you in course of time. And after that, we have the colon. Colon is used to indicate that there will be a group of statement inside it. Like we have already seen in if, and we have also seen in loops like for and while. There is a colon after the first line, indicating there is a group of statement under it. So same thing happens over here in a function also. That is, we'll have a colon over here. And remember, just like any other program, the function should begin from the extreme left edge of the string. So same thing holds true, no indentation out here anywhere. And after this, of course, it should be indented out here. Say for example, I'm going to print a message, say hello. And okay, I would like to have one more message, say from Python. So note the indentation over here. This is to indicate that these 2 statements are under the definition of a function named greet. So this is the definition for the function. Definition, once again, it is only to tell the computer that this particular task, and which task? The task named greet, is supposed to display the message hello and the message from Python and nothing else. Okay, you write this much, okay, fine, you execute this, try executing it, you will find there is no output, because this is what a definition is supposed to do. What a definition is supposed to do, it is only to tell the computer that you do nothing, but remember this particular task, the name of the function, that is greet, is supposed to display the message hello and from Python, only this much. It is not going to execute it until and unless I start calling it. That is the main part from where the program execution begins. That is from the main area or the main person who is going to call. Now remember, once you start writing, instead of this definition, instead of this indentation, once you start writing from here, it indicates that this particular function has ended. So I am going to start once again from the extreme left edge of the editor. So suppose if this is the editor, this is where I started with the function definition. I have stopped over here and now I'll begin from here. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print a message. Say for example, I'm going to print the message India. Okay. Now, bit complicated. Those who are doing it for the first time, you'll find that what on earth have I written? So much of indentation. It's very simple. This is the function definition I'm drawing using dotted lines. And this is the part from where the program execution begins. You try executing this program. The output, this time you are going to definitely get the output. The output which you are going to get is India. The output which you are going to get is India, indicating that the program only started from here, that is from the extreme left edge. And prior to this, we had a definition def. Def, computer or Python understand that this is the definition of the function. It's not supposed to execute it until and unless I do not call this particular task or function. So this is what it understands. So first, India obviously gets displayed. Next, what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to display the message hello from Python by invoking this particular task. So how do I do that? I'm going to call this function named greet. So how do I do it? I'm going to write the word greet. That is, I'm going to call by its name. So now what happens? The entire execution, what happens? It starts from here, the word India gets displayed, and after that it comes to the next line, and here what does it find? It finds that I am invoking the function which I have defined prior to it, named greet. So what happens? The entire control of execution now comes over here, and whatever is the content of the function, that is whatever you have defined within the function, gets executed. That is print hello. It's going to print the message hello, and then from Python, now from Python gets executed, and then after this what happens? After this it gets back to the next line wherever you have invoked. I'm showing this using an arrow out here. So you have called the function, the control gets transferred over here, whatever is the content gets executed, and then it gets back to the next line wherever you have called. Now what I'm going to do is, suppose say for example once again I make a invocation or call to the function named greet. So what happens? Let me write once again greet. Now this time what happens? Again the control gets transferred over here, again the statements inside it gets executed, and then gets back to the next line. And next line nothing is there, so it ends. However, before that, it's going to display the message hello and from Python. See how simple it is. Like that, we can have several, definition for a function, and we can simply call by its name. It's that simple. You see, so this is a particular task. We can have several such definitions, and this is the main area or the manager from where each of this task will be invoked or called to perform a particular task. So that is why what we are going to do is, from now onwards we are going to follow a certain convention. That is, from wherever the manager part or the managerial staff will start calling that particular function, will tell that it is the main part from where the program execution begins. So this is just today, it has nothing to do with the word main. You can see that it's a comment in Python. Remember, it begins with hash symbol. So what happens is, this is just to indicate that this is the place, this is the convention we are going to follow. Subsequent programs I'm going to do exactly using this method, so that you never get confused that this is a part of the function definition or this is the main part. Wherever we have the main part, we are going to write hash main, although it is not necessary, but we are going to follow this convention from where the program execution begins. And any invocation we can simply call it using its name. So this is how it's going to work. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to show it into your computer. I'm going to give you a full screen view of my computer and show you that how this really works and how it looks when it is executed on the computer. My computer screen, a part of it, I'm going to show you a live demonstration on how functions work. This is the shell window. This is for the interactive mode, and behind this screen we have this is for the script mode. This is I got it using the file new option from the shell window. I got this particular window, and out here I'm going to write the program for our functions demonstration. So this is what we are going to do right now. So for function definition, that we begin with the keyword def indicating definition. And I believe you remember, definition is only to tell Python that it is used for defining or telling what are the statements to be executed only when the function is being invoked or called. So let's start with it. We'll begin with def, with the keyword def obviously, and let's start with the message greet. Okay, let this be the name of the function which I am defining over here, followed by a colon. And remember, the function definition should begin from the extreme left edge. Remember, there shouldn't be any indentation or a space before it. Please remember that. This is true for any program code which should begin from the extreme left edge. And you see this indentation indicating that these are the statements which I'm going to write over here. So I'm going to write hello out here, the way I have demonstrated on the board, and one more message, say print from Python. So another message out here. So I'm displaying two messages, two print statements. The first one to display hello, the second one to display Python.
Now that's it. No more further line I want to add it, because I want to keep things simple. And this is the part from where the actual execution of the program begins. So once you bring the cursor to the extreme left edge, it means the program execution will begin from here. In case you want to define one more function, you can also start it from here. That comes later on. First of all, let's start with the program. So here, okay, before starting the program, let's say, run this particular program and see whether, this particular definition of a function is going to execute or not. Remember what I said already, that a function definition never gets executed. Definition is only to tell Python that these statements should be executed only when it is invoked. So definition is not invocation. Definition is simply writing the instruction which it needs to follow once invoked. So let's start running it. Okay, run option and then the run module. Of course, it needs to be saved. Okay, so let's give the name of the function. Say function 1. Let's give the name for the function 1. Okay, and in execute it, and you see it displays nothing, which is quite obvious, because this function is not supposed to show you anything, because it contains only the definition of the function. That means it is not supposed to execute until and unless it is not invoked. So let's invoke it. How do we invoke it? Of course, by calling it. So let's do something. Let's invoke it by calling the function called greet. Okay, now let's start executing it. It'll ask for saving. Okay, click on OK, and there you can see that the content of the greet function, that is hello from Python, gets executed, and you can see the output over here. Okay, in case you want a statement before it, so we can write it over here. Even this is in the main area. Okay, for simplicity, remember I was talking about, I've given a comment named main, because this is the main part from where the program execution begins. So print, this will be first. Let's give a message first, and then it will call the greet function, which in the meanwhile is going to display hello from Python. And remember, after the execution of the statements inside the function, it comes to the next line, which we have already studied. And in the next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print one more message, say last. So what it is supposed to do, I believe you can already guess that first the program execution begins from the main, and it's going to display the message first. After that, I invoke the function named greet, you can see over here. So the control gets transferred out here, and it is going to display the message hello from Python, and then it gets back to the next line, which I've already mentioned before. And then in the next line, you can see it's going to display the message last. So let's see what it does. Run, and run module, it will ask for saving. Okay, we'll click on OK, and there you can see over there the first line. I can show you the program as well. So in the first line, the first gets printed, the message first. After that, greet, the function gets invoked, greet function, whose definition is written using the def statement. So here the contents, that is print hello, so it displays hello. And then what do we have? From Python, and therefore from Python gets displayed. And after the execution ends of the function, it comes to the next line where you have called. So in the next line, what do we have? Print last. So therefore it's going to display the message last, which you can see out here. So this is how it goes. You see, when you use function, that doesn't mean the rest of the statements which you have learned cannot be used out here. Yes, of course, you can use the remaining statements which you have learned in class 11. Those statements can already be used out here. For example, if I want to display the hello from Java, from Python, this particular message, if I want to display 10 times on the screen, so what I can do is I can use a for loop. So how do I do that? Of course, another method is writing the greet function, that is invocation of the function should be written 10 times. Okay, that is one method. The other method is using a for loop. Of course, for I in range 10, indicating that the value of I will start from 0 till 9, and I want the greet function to be executed 10 times. So that's it. So let me run or execute this particular program. Okay, and there you see first it begins from there. and then 10 times I invoke the greet function, and 10 times it's going to print hello from Python, and then finally it prints last. So you can see the message last gets displayed. So this is what happens. You can see that this is what happens when you execute this particular program. Now, please remember that the function definition should always be before the function invocation. That means you cannot have the, let me get back first to the previous example. That is, I'm going to invoke the greet function just once. And here, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to write the definition of the function after the main part of the program, which you are not supposed to do. I'm just telling you the effect of this. Let me remove these lines. Okay, so please remember, this is not allowed in Python. There are certain languages which allows you can define a function anywhere, but in Python we do not allow this. A function definition should always be before the function is being invoked. So here you'll find that we'll get an error message that there is nothing called greet. It will be a name error because the function greet will not be found. So let's try. Let's run the program and click on OK for saving it, and there. You can see in red color this error message has come up. Name error, name greet is not defined. This is because the definition of the function is below the main part of the program. So this you have to keep in mind. You cannot have the definition of the function below the main part of the program. It should always be kept above the main part of the program. So this needs to be kept in mind. So here once again I'll try executing it. And let me save it, and there again we get back to the output we got prior to this, and it's working fine. That is more important. And now I'm going to show you, you can have multiple such functions. Say for example, I have defined out here a function named greet. Okay, let me define one more function. Say let me define a function named message, and out here let me display another message. Say, let me say display the message welcome to India. Let me display this particular message. Now let's see what is going to happen. I'm defining one more point to be noted. The function greet ends over here wherever I have one more line from the left side indentation, that is from the left edge of the screen. Let me leave a line, although it's not necessary. So if I start executing it, what happens? Let's see. Click on OK, and there you can see first hello from Python, last. It is exactly same what we got previously. This is because I did not invoke the function named message. Say after the greet function is being invoked or called, I'm going to call the message function once again. Message function. And now you see what happens. Greet function will be invoked. All the lines in it will get executed. It will get back to the next line. And in the next line, what do we have? The function will be named message. So the entire control will get transferred to the message function. It will print welcome to India and get back to the next line. And in the next line, what do we have? Print last. So it's going to definitely display the message last after this. Let's see. Whatever I am telling, whether the computer works in the same way or not. Click on run, click on save. That is okay to save. And here you can see first. And then hello from Python. I'll just get back to the program. Here you can see print. It's going to display first, and after that greet function. So the hello from Python gets displayed, and after that the message function, the function named message, gets executed. That is welcome to India, and then it gets back to the next line. That is print last. It's going to display last. So that's it. That is how a function is created or defined and how it can be executed. Okay, now the question arises, what is a function in Python? So a function in Python is a reusable collection of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. Now, point to be noted, the keyword reusable. Reusable in the sense that the same code or the definition of the function, you can invoke it several times in different parts of your program. So in the main area of the program, you can call or invoke a function several times by using its name, which we have already seen. So that is what a function is. And what does it contain? Collection of statements that are grouped together. So of course you have a group of statements which are grouped together to perform a particular operation or task. So that is what a function is. Now here what I'm going to talk about is the different function categories. So what are the categories? They are divided into 4 different categories. Built-in function. Built-in function, you see, these are inbuilt inside Python itself, which you have already seen. Len function, which is used to find the length of different type of objects. For example, list, tuples, number of characters in a string. The max mean function to find the largest number, smallest number in a list and tuple, etc. So these are the built-in functions which are inbuilt inside the inside Python. You don't require any extra module for it. And then we have functions in modules. Function in modules are, you need to use the import statement. I believe you remember we had done modules in class 11 where we needed to import a particular module. Remember, it's a program which contains several functions which we will be able to use it in our program. For example, mat.sqrt, you can see in that example mat.sqrt is given out there. So you can use mat.sqrt, or you may use mat.ceil, mat.floor, or mat.random function. So all these different functions may be used out there. And then we have also seen functions with objects. So with list, there is a set of objects like pop, and then index. Even with tuple, we have index. For strings, you have few functions related to objects, string objects, that is upper. You must have seen that. String variable dot upper, and then we have lower, we have capitalize. These functions are all in association with an object. Please remember that. And finally, we have user-defined object, and this particular type is very important to us because this is what we are learning right now. That is, how do we create a function? And once we know how to create this function, we can at least create functions for different modules, functions in different modules, so that we can also import our module to use that particular function. We can also create different type of objects where we can have certain functions adding to the behavior of that particular object. Anyway, first of all, there's a long way to go. We need to first learn how to create the user-defined function. You got a small glimpse on the first day, and I have provided with an assignment. I believe you'll be doing the assignment and posting it in my mail. And finally, we have few advantages which are related to Python. You must have already seen one of the biggest advantages, code reusability, the reusing of the code. Here are a few advantages which are jotted down. You can see over there. The first one is reducing duplication of code. So the same code I don't need to repeat again and again. It is generally a possibility that if you do not use functions for the same code to be used, we need to rewrite the entire code once again. Here you are at least left out with such problems. It's a great relief for programmers. You just need to make a function once and you can call it several times, and this will reduce, or in fact practically remove, any form of duplication of code. And then this is one more advantage, that is decomposing complex problems into simpler pieces. This is this leads to proper manageability of the entire program. Otherwise, one entire big program. Imagine a simple book. If a book consists of a single chapter only, and the book consists of 400 to 500 pages, you can understand how difficult it is to maintain that particular book, and in fact to digest that book. But once we divide that book into several chapters, it is easier to manage that particular book. So decomposing a complex problem into simpler pieces will always give you the advantage of manageability. Next comes the improving clarity of the code. Now, once you define each of these programs into smaller segments, it will increase the clarity of the code, because you are not repeating the same code again and again. You are dividing it into several segments. Once you divide it into several segments, it is easier to manage. For example, you look at a book which contains several chapters. If I want you to go through a particular chapter, you can just turn off the index and find the page number and go to that chapter, skipping the remaining chapters. So why? Because this improves the clarity, the entire clarity. Imagine with a single chapter of book, and it is so difficult to find out a particular topic in it. So that way, in that respect, it improves the clarity of the code. Code means the program. Reuse of code, this I have been talking several times. In fact, in the example also I have shown you how a code or the function may be, or the code inside the function may be reused by calling it repeatedly. And the next part is information hiding. Information hiding means, all the complexities of a particular program is kept hidden from the end user. You see, you must have already, used the function called mat.sqrt. This particular function you must have already used, or you must have used the random function. And imagine these functions, if you are supposed to create, how much effort is required. Imagine that. Suppose you do not use any operator. In Python as a built-in operator, you must have seen there are 2 asterisk symbol or 2 star, and 2 star to the power of half, you can easily find the square root of. Suppose I ask you, no, do not use that particular operator. And I ask you not to use the square root function, that is sqrt function of the math module, and I ask you to find the square root of a number. Now imagine the situation. It isn't easy. Not that it is not possible, but it isn't easy. It will take some amount of time for you to understand how square root in mathematics is done, and then you can write the corresponding code to it, and it won't be that easy. So, but when I ask you to find the square root using the math module, you can easily write math.sqrt. So that's what happens, and what it means by this word information hiding, which leads to abstraction. That is, the complexity is hidden completely. So I believe you understood today's, the entire lesson, and I've given a few assignment for you to do. You can do it in your copy, and in case, you have a problem, you can always mail me, and that's it. Thank you.